was never anything I set out to do. It was something I stumbled across, and the way I stumbled across it, I was sitting down watching the Ashes one night over in England on the couch with my wife Julie. Gave a couple of decisions as it was going down live and that, and Jules turned to me and said, "Well, why don't you look at umpiring if you think you're pretty good?" And I kind of dismissed it straight away. I said, "No, it's no way. Who the hell would want to do that? You've got to be kidding me." But I actually thought about it, and and it was just a seed that was planted, and then made some inquiries and did the exams I needed to do, and got a little bit of cricket under my belt. And after the first game, I was hooked, sort of thing, and loved it, and I haven't looked back. There was a lot of study involved, a lot of things that I thought I knew from playing that I didn't know, and it's and it's still learning in progress. So there is a big difference, and I mean, luckily for me, I'd been out of the game a little while before I umpired, but I still had Skippy Sinclair, I think, was still playing. Gareth Hopkins was still playing. Guys that I'd played with in that were nearing the end of their playing days in that. So I might have had one or two game with those guys, but then sort of they were gone, and it was sort of no one around that I knew. So yeah, look, it was nerve-wracking because especially Gareth, Hoppy, he'd played with me in that, so he knew sort of what I was like, and now he's at the other end wicket keeping, and I'm at the sharp end not wanting to make a mistake. So it was it was interesting, but it's certainly been enjoyable, and it is a great challenge, and all I would say for anyone out there that hasn't tried it or thought about it is just give it a crack. You never know. You'll end up enjoying it, I'm sure, like I did, and crikey, here I am.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome story. You mentioned there, obviously the rules, huge part of being an umpire, but what about those other intangibles in terms of making decisions under pressure, dealing with players, dealing with, I suppose, fellow match officials and coaches, etc., everything that we get to see around the especially the big games at that highest level? How important is that aspect of being a top quality umpire these days?
Yeah, look, very much so. Decision making's very important, without doubt. But also so is your man management on the field, off the field, match management, communication. With coaches, captains, players. You got issues with players in general, fellow umpires, even as well. I guess I was quite lucky. My job in the police enabled me to get some skills around talking to people and the likes, and dealing in situations and that. So yeah, look, there's obviously more to it than just getting the ins and outs correct. You've got to be able to talk to people and get your point of view across, but you've also got to be able to listen as well to where the players and the coaches and that are coming from. So you've got to be the all-round package, really. But like I say, look, it is a great challenge, and it is a great place to watch the game.
JD, welcome in. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Willie. Great to be here. Brownie, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, mate. Sorry, Willie, did you say he was named on the national panel again, is he?
Yeah.
I got the lucky stroke of the pen.
Oh, well done, mate. Obviously, Charlie didn't get my email, so well, congratulations.
Well, we've talked about the hard parts about being an umpire. What about the really good parts here, Brownie? This is you guys walking out for an international with your old mate Wayne Knights. Can you talk to us about what you enjoy about being an umpire, and particularly getting to umpire on these sort of stages?
Look, this at the international, you've got the cameras, you've got the best players in the world there. Good decisions are going to be seen on the big screen, and your clangers are going to be seen on the big screen and around the world as well. But look, it's a great place to see some of the world's best players play the game and how they go about their role. Whether as a batsman, a bowler, captain, and that. It's pressure. There's pressure, no doubt, but that when you start off, and it's it's really rewarding when you come off. You've had a good game. I never say that you enjoy it out there in that, because I find you're always on edge. But afterwards, as soon as you can get back in the sheds and have a beer, relax, and if, like I said before, if they're not talking about the umpires, then to me, that's a job well done, and you can start to enjoy it then and look back.
You mentioned getting to be out there with the best players in the world. They don't get much bigger than Rohit Sharma and the Indian cricket team have been here the last 2 summers. JD, I mean, I suppose umpiring international cricket, that's got to be the dream, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm a realist. I might have left my run a little bit late to make the dizzy heights that Brownie's on the way to, but I was also very fortunate to be included in that the white ball part of the Indian tour. So I was reserve umpire for a handful of those games, and the tour was run concurrently with the South African women's tour. So I was on field for a few of the women's internationals and an off-field reserve umpire role with the Indian boys, and that is an eye-opener to see those guys on tour, and the crowd support that they have, obviously, and that follow them around. And it was a great experience, and also a valuable one from an umpiring point of view, to see how those guys at the very top level tick, and how games are managed at that level. And it's not a huge difference, I didn't feel, between those international games and our own domestic first class and Ford trophies and the like. But there are some key differences, and to be exposed to those at this stage in my umpiring career was great fun. I managed to get my first DRS decision made on the field correct, which was, I can tell you, a huge relief at the time.
Annette Campbell, welcome to the show. I know that's a big intro. I hope it doesn't blow your head up too much after all those accolades and awards.
It is. Thank you, Willie. It's certainly a big intro.
Have you worked with John before on the Auckland or the county scene? John had the good grace to go down to Cornwall Cricket Club there and umpire a few games?
Not at Cornwall, but we certainly have worked together a lot at domestic level.
What's the relationship like, guys, between an umpire and a scorer? How much do you rely on each other?
Hugely. In fact, my mantra has always been that there are 3 teams in a game of cricket. The third team is the umpires and the scorers, and now the match referee. And that's absolutely it. We are a team, and we do all work together, and there are times when we do need input from one another. So it is absolutely a team game.
JD, echo that?
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree with Annette. We can't do the job without them, and they can't do it without us. And of course, if we upset them, they can leave us standing out there on one leg, circling leg byes for an extended period of time, just to remind us that there are processes to be followed, and you need to be more consistent with that, John. Thank you very much. Hasn't happened too often when Annette's been in the scorer's box. Of course, she's always very nice to me.
You need to, I think, enjoy figures and numbers to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mathematical brain, potentially.
Yes, it is. The scoring's moving on and becoming more computerised, but you still have to have the mathematical, logical thought. If you don't enjoy that, then you won't enjoy doing it. But there is a lot of logic to it. And it's being able to sit there and watch great players and great cricket games.
Who are some of your favourites that you've been able to score over your time?
Nationally, Nathan Astle. I loved watching Nathan Astle play. Adam Perori was great.
The wicket keeper, yes.
Yes.
Who would you have scored? Some of the, Lauren Down, Holly Huddleston, some of maybe even Martin Guptill, Lockie, Parnell.
Lockie, yes. Colin Munro.
Colin, wouldn't there be? you'd had a few extras in Lockie Ferguson's column, wouldn't you, with the buys, bowling at 150k at club cricket on a green seamer?
Yeah. Well, I've scored a lot of games with Heath Davis too, and he was the master of the no ball. So we would have 12 ball overs with Heath. There's been some interesting players. I think Tom Latham he's been interesting to watch come through from a young player. I think he's really exciting coming forward.
You mentioned the extras there. Is that the biggest meltdown for a scorer when the boxes you're having to go over the fringes because you've got a 10 ball over or something like that?
The blood pressure does start to rise when you get to about 9.
Writing it smaller
you're
and
wondering
smaller.
where you're going to put the rest. Yes, exactly.
I'll bring him into the show. Tony Hill, welcome here, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Boy, oh boy, that was a scary intro, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Kanan, you've been working with Tony. What was that like when he was the umpires coach, and how much did you get to learn off a guy who literally has been right at the top of umpiring?
Yeah, I first met Tony even before I got NZC games. I first met him at a trainers seminar in 2015, I think it was, when he was trying to help us all trainers in the country with different tools and resources for training local umpires. And then a couple of years later, when I first started getting NZC opportunities, he's also seen me in a tournament before that. That's when I started getting NZC games and started getting feedback and observations from him directly. So his umpiring stats speak for themselves, obviously, but even as a coach, he seems to be someone who lets us be our own selves, and I don't think he's tried to change us in any way. And certainly for me and a few other of my reserve panel colleagues have talked about how he, lets you be your own self and just gives you the confidence at the right times to bring out the best in yourself. So thank you, Tony. How are you?
I was well. Now I'm starting to hear all sorts of strange things about what I've done over the time. Who knows?
That's the glory of moving roles. Tony, what have you observed of Kanan when you first sort of met him as an umpire, and I suppose how have you tracked his journey?
I think he's made huge improvement over the last few years, and certainly part of those improvements are not focusing a hell of a lot on bits that don't really matter. It's a matter of making sure that you're focused on what's important for the game ahead. In those early days, I remember with Kanan, and I'm sure it even happened the last time we met, notebook comes out with 2 or 3 pages of questions to be able to go over, or we've got an opportunity to sit and have a chat together. That always showed how much he was continuing to think about the game itself. But it's also a matter of just slowing that down a little bit and concentrating on the really important parts. And you've had those guys in already who are doing that. And certainly Kanan's in that group too. It's neat. That's what we're aiming for.
Being a match referee, I've got the list up there as well. Is that part of just wanting to stay in the game? How does it come about? And I know you did a couple of games maybe last year. How much are you looking forward to it?
I'm looking forward to it plenty. The reason I decided to stop on the coaching side of it was that I felt that I'd been there 6 or 7 years, and time really for a new voice, new face turning up. The last thing you want is for people to start going to sleep because they're hearing similar things all the time, I thought. And then last year, I managed to get about 8 or 9 T20 games to go and work as a match ref, and I quite enjoyed that. And I thought, well, if I'm stopping, maybe there's some little way of still being a part of the game somewhere, game I love, been in amongst it for years and years and years. So, yeah, and New Zealand Cricket have been good enough to let me come and join them. We'll see how the day goes.